Hi, everyone. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Hannah. I'm an educator with doTERRA Essential Oils. I was born in England, but I married a Canadian, and so I've been living in Canada, in Burlington, Ontario, for the last 10 years. So that's why my accent's kind of half English and half Canadian. I have two young boys, aged 1 and 3.5. So that's me. So I'm going to do a video today about myth busting, because there's a lot of kind of misinformation out there about essential oils. So I find that there's two kinds of skeptics. The kind of skeptics that just want to tear everything down and have no interest in actually learning anything at all. And the other kind of skeptics, which is probably you guys if you're watching this, which is people who aren't quite thinking that it's a great idea, but would really like to learn more about it. So thank you so much for watching this video, because that means that you guys actually are open to learning about other things. And maybe by the end of this video, you'll still be a skeptic, and that's fine, but hopefully you'll have learned something along the way. And maybe have just a few less questions. So I can't believe it's taking me this long to do a video about myth busting, because once I decided to do it, I wrote down a ton of things, and I was like, wow, this is going to go on for a long time. There's so many reasons that people have to be skeptical, and they're all very legitimate reasons. So we're going to cover a lot of things today, but hopefully you'll have less questions by the time we get to the end of this video. Okay, so the number one reason I think that people are skeptical of essential oils is because you've met some people who are just really, really far too excited about them. Can you think of someone right now? Like, oh my goodness, they've changed my life. So there's two reasons for that. Either your friends are just really dramatic and eccentric. Okay, some people do just overreact, or they really have had a life-changing experience. So for me, there was certainly no fireworks. It wasn't really a big thing. It just made sense. And so I'll talk more a bit about that later. But for some people, if they have a really big issue, and then essential oils have been able to really help them with it, it does change everything for them, and they do get a little bit too excited. So for example, I have a friend, and she has 4 kids, 4 daughters, and one of them just wasn't sleeping very well, and she was 5 years old, and she's never slept through the night. Not one night in her whole life has she ever slept through the night. And then someone gave her a sample of some Serenity essential oil, the doTERRA Restful Blend, and she tried it, and she slept through the night for the first time. And so she was really excited. She was like, oh my goodness, what is this? This is amazing. But if you don't have a big kind of issue to be addressed, then you might not have any fireworks. So for me, one time I burned myself, and I put lavender on it right away, and then later that night I couldn't even see which arm I'd burned, and I'd burnt it on like a roasting hot oven, and later that night it didn't even go red or blister or anything. I was like, oh, that's really cool, it really works. But really there wasn't any fireworks. It just made sense, because it's safer and cheaper. And so if something is safer and cheaper, why on earth would you not even use it? So for example, in Canada here, we struggle with bugs and mosquitoes in the summer. And so, and the store-bought stuff is so bad for you. Like, if you're skeptical of anything, oh my goodness, look at what is already in the ingredients that you already have in your cleaning products and your steam products. Go and look at what's in your bathroom and under your sink right now, because you really should be looking at what you bring into your home. But bug spray particularly is so toxic. I don't know how it's allowed to be sold, but it's basically DEET. It's basically pesticides. It's like horrific. Anyway, doTERRA have a blend called TerraShield, and it helps to repel insects, and it's like $13. It's so cost effective, and it naturally helps to repel bugs. Does it mean you'll never get a bug bite the rest of your life? No. Does it mean you will get less? Absolutely. There's something I've noticed about mosquitoes. They just love British blood. I don't know what it is. And that doesn't make sense to me, because I heard that Marmite helps repel them. I've eaten Marmite like every day for about 20 years. Less now because it's harder to find here, but like literally I've eaten it every day for 20 years. And it's supposed to repel bugs. But honestly, they love me. So like I will literally get 10 mosquito bites for every one that my husband gets, literally every time. So I don't know if it's a British blood thing or like a blood type thing. I'm A positive. I don't know if that's what they like to drink the most. But anyway, mosquitoes just love me. And so one time we went for a walk in the forest, and I was wearing my TerraShield. My husband decided not to. And then I came out bug bite free, and he got bites. And I know that bugs prefer me to him. And I didn't get any bites, and he did. So I know that it works. and it is cheaper than store-bought stuff. It's a bazillion times safer. Yes, scientifically a bazillion. It's much safer, it's cost effective. Why on earth would you not use it? So that's kind of the idea behind essential oils. Okay, so that's one reason, overexcited people. So yeah, maybe they're just overexcited, or maybe something really has made a dramatic impact in their life. Like I said, for me, it really wasn't that dramatic. It just makes sense. Misleading articles, okay? It's kind of like a buzz thing now, so they're all over the internet, and you're going to hear different things everywhere, and it's just going to confuse you. Essential oils have been around for centuries and centuries and centuries. Like, I mean, frankincense and myrrh are both essential oils, so you're probably familiar with those from the Christmas story. They were used in ancient Egypt, and people would actually break into the tombs, and they would leave the gold and steal the essential oils. Like, that's how valuable they were, because they knew that was their healthcare, right? And that was more valuable to them than gold. It was medicine. They've been used for centuries in natural medicine and in natural beauty. But now, as people are becoming more aware of them, as with anything, there's going to be knockoffs and ripoffs. So, for example, when I was pregnant the first time around, I have two sons. The first time around, I just Googled what oils to avoid during pregnancy. And I got a million different lists. And I was like, well, I don't want to risk anything, so I'll go with the most extreme list and avoid anything, right? Because I don't want to risk anything, right? Why would you? So I just won't use anything. And I didn't use anything the entire pregnancy. By the time I came out of my second pregnancy, I had been connected with doTERRA, and then I was able to learn a lot more. And I was like, oh, well, what can I use and what can't I use when I'm pregnant? And they were able to explain things to me. And they said, there's really just a couple that you need to avoid. You need to avoid clary sage, and they say, there was just a couple of the things I need to be aware of. And I was like, really? Like, before I was told to avoid basically this whole list of everything. Like, what's the difference? And the difference is quality. It really comes down to quality. So there's actually no governing body when it comes to essential oils, which is a problem, because it means that I can get the oil from my car, put it in a pretty brown bottle, and sell it to you and say it's 100% pure oil, and no one's going to stop me doing that, right? The government's not going to stop me. Health Canada's not going to stop me. There's nothing to stop me doing that. And so, when something says 100% pure, like I went to the health food store and it said 100% pure essential oil. So I'm like, okay, this must be the good stuff. I'm in the health food store. And then when I realized that, that doesn't really mean anything, I was like, oh, that sucks. I thought I was, being a smart shopper. So I bought a peppermint from the health food store. Once I was introduced to doTERRA, I smelled the difference, and I was like, oh, this health food store one smells like water. That was just $12 down the drain, when I could have just spent $26 for the doTERRA one that I can actually use. So doTERRA is the biggest producer of essential oils in the world. We have over 7 million customers around the world using doTERRA in their homes. Many people have started with other cheaper oils and eventually realized that, these aren't really doing anything. And here's the thing, you can get kind of negative side effects. I've heard of many people who've been diffusing cheaper oils and end up with migraines and nausea. Isn't that awful? But they diffuse something that smells nice at first, and then an hour later it just smells like dead plants. Gross. So quality really is everything. Like I always say about cheaper oils, yeah, it's probably going to smell like peppermint, but you're not going to get any therapeutic benefits, right? And that is the huge, huge difference with doTERRA. So doTERRA have, like I said, there's no standard around essential oils, which is an issue because, there's so many things that go into the quality, 100%, what does that mean? But, where was the plant grown? Where was it sourced from? How were the farmers treated and the growers treated? Were they paid fairly? How was it distilled? Was it steam distilled or distilled with the solvent? Okay, so pouring chemicals on the plant to help get the essential oils off, and then having solvents in your essential oil. How is that even, that completely defeats the purpose, right? Do you not see an issue with that? So lots of people, lots of other companies will, they could use solvents. They could, were they grown organically? Were they grown in a greenhouse? That would be an issue because the essential oils are how the plant defends its stuff. right? So, for example, that's why there are so many oils that help to repel bugs, because certain plants themselves need to repel bugs as part of their protection mechanism. And so if plants are grown in a greenhouse, they're not going to be exposed to everything they need to protect themselves from. So like the elements, the winds, the weather, the temperature. So growing them in a greenhouse, you'll still get essential oils. They just won't be very effective because the plant hasn't needed to defend itself against anything. So there's lots of different things that go into quality. And then some companies will just flat out dilute their oils with something else like an olive oil or a different carrier oil. Some companies will dilute their more costly oils with a cheaper oil. So they'll say it's frankincense, which is one of the more pricey oils. And then you test it and there's a tiny bit of frankincense and a ton of lemongrass in there. So, and again, there's no one really stopping this from happening. And then after all of that, there's the testing that it does or doesn't go through. So if you look at most companies and you say, okay, how do you test these oils? How do you know that they're safe? Most companies will say, we do random batch testing. You're like, okay, well, random batch, that could be that you could test 1 in a million. That doesn't really, that doesn't really give me much confidence that everything is safe, because you don't test in between, and I don't know how big those batches are that you're testing. Okay, well, if they're randomly tested, how can I be sure that my bottle is safe? And they're not going to be able to answer that question. So with doTERRA, they actually test every single liter of oil. And on top of that, they do all these other tests, way more tests than any other company does. It actually goes through 7 levels of testing in-house in doTERRA, in their lab with their scientists there, and in an independent third party. Obviously, that's something that's very important. And here's something I really appreciate. This is actually going on right now. Their commitment to quality is so high that they will lose money over it. So what I mean by that is they would rather be out of stock than have a product available that hasn't met their quality standards. So currently right now, it's not an essential oil. It's they do supplements as well. And there's a detoxing supplement, it's called Zendocrine, that is currently out of stock. January is a time when many people decide to do a detox or a cleanse, and they're currently out of stock of this one supplement that would be a part of that program. And they're out of stock of that. And I really appreciate that, because this isn't an oil, it's a complex in a pill, right? So you're not going to smell it and you're not going to taste it. So even if they sold the lower quality one, no one would know, right? And do you know how many other companies would do that? They would just be like, oh no, we're going to lose money because no one's buying this. They're not going to notice, just sell it anyway. And I truly believe many other companies would do that. And I'm really thankful that doTERRA don't, because quality is just everything to them. And what allows them to do that is that they actually don't have any shareholders kind of telling them what to do, telling them that money's the most important thing. When they went to start the company, the 7 founders actually mortgaged their homes and pulled out all their savings and everything, so that they could be 100% in control, so that they could take this company where they wanted it to go, which is producing the best essential oils in the world, the highest quality, and empowering farmers, so that they could do those things without their shareholders saying, no, you need to do this for money, you need to do this for money, right? So I really appreciate that about the company. So they go through 7 levels of testing in-house and in an independent third party to ensure that you get the best quality oil, and you will not find a better quality oil in the world anywhere. Because of that, these oils are so different to any other oils that most of them you can take internally. Now, this is where some people aren't comfortable with that. And if you're not comfortable, that's fine. No one's going to force you to take them internally. But people get really kind of, weird about this idea. And it's like, well, they are so pure. These are going to be way pure and cleaner than most of the food you're eating anyway. But did you know that you're already using and ingesting some essential oils, right? Check out, so a peppermint patty. I don't know if you guys have that in England, but I had bought some peppermint bark the other day, and it said peppermint oil. It's probably going to be in your gum as well, or chewing gum. There's also some lemon oil in some drinks and some cakes. So oil is already in some certain foods. And here's the thing: that standard of oil is actually called, this is its technical name, it's GRAS, and that is literally called generally regarded as safe. That is the actual kind of official classification, generally regarded as safe for people to ingest. So that's kind of interesting. So there's synthetic oils, which is going to be like, synthetically made. So that's going to be anything that has a smell, really. So that's going to be perfumes and stuff like that. Then there's generally regarded as safe, that classification of oils. Then there's therapeutic oils, which are ones that are designed to be used for medicinal purposes. And then there's doTERRA. And so their standard is called CPTG. So that's Certified Pure Therapeutic Grade. And that's the 7 levels of testing that I've talked about in-house and in an independent third party. So I use these oils on me. I use them in my home. I use them on my kids. I use them on my baby. So to me, it's really important that they're safe. Otherwise, why would I have them, right? Like I'm using these for medicinal purposes. I'm using them to clean. I want to, I wouldn't bother having them if I didn't feel safe using them. But what's fantastic, I'm just going to grab an oil here. I said that every single liter is tested. Every single bottle has a serial number on the bottom. And what's really cool about this is that you can go to a website, it's called Source to You, and you can type in the serial number. And as I said, they test every single liter, and it is going to show you those tests and then also explain how you can interpret those tests. So, and it's going to tell me the tests, not of bergamot, but of this exact bergamot bottle that I hold in my hand. Okay, so that's really cool. Like, you're not going to find that level of transparency anywhere else. You're just not. They're going to do random batch testing, and that's all you're going to know about it. doTERRA does so many more tests than any other companies actually even can. They can detect stuff that other companies can't. So there we go. Quality is absolutely everything, and that's why I feel safe taking these internally. Okay, so another reason people might be skeptical is to say, well, why would I listen to you? You're not a doctor. Correct. I am not a doctor. I have never said that I am a doctor. Well, just like anything that you already have in your home, it's going to be safe if you use as directed. Okay. So you probably, like any of your cleaning supplies, your shampoo, like if you drink the whole thing, isn't going to be good for you or your kids, right? Same thing. When used as directed, they are perfectly safe. The same as anything else that you would have in your home. I am not a doctor, and I don't pretend to be one. There are many doctors and naturopaths and chiropractors and healthcare professionals that use doTERRA oils in their practices. But I can just tell you how I use them. And also the best, a really helpful thing to do is just get this book, and it's going to tell you how to use them. So doTERRA products, it says, we say it all the time, it says it all over their website, they're not designed to treat, cure, prevent any disease. They're just designed to be a health tool to help you on your wellness journey. Which brings me to the other thing why you might be skeptical. If you've just heard random things about essential oils and people raving about how great they are, you might have somehow got the wrong impression that like one drop of oil will just change your whole life forever, and you'll just be amazing. Cure all of your diseases, and you'll never have any issues again. Like your babies will sleep through the night all the time. That's just not how they work. Okay, so you have to have realistic expectations. So yes, there are oils to help create a restful environment, but kids are kids, babies are babies. There's going to be times where they have sleep regressions and teething and growth spurts or developmental changes. So while it does help to create a restful environment, it doesn't guarantee, the impossible. Okay, so life is still gonna happen. So there are oils that can help with pretty much anything. But again, you just have to use them, consistently and have realistic expectations. So they're never gonna outweigh, life choices. Okay, so there are oils to help with like food cravings and metabolism, but that's not going to do anything if you don't choose to look at the food that you're putting in your mouth and choose to move your body a bit more, right? Okay, like these are wellness tools, and the baseline for health and wellness has been and will always be what you are putting into your body and how you are moving your body. So they are designed to be used in conjunction with other things. So, you can't use one drop of On Guard and expect to never get sick again, okay? So a realistic expectation would be to use On Guard throughout the colder months to help prevent some kind of, other kind of seasonal kind of threats. And you can expect to, okay, I'll tell you what my husband has found. My husband is a supply teacher, so he's in a lot of schools. He's around a lot of kids. He's in a lot of different classrooms and touching a lot of desks where teachers have been sick. So he's around a lot of germs. And since using doTERRA oils and supplements, he's found that he gets sick far less often. And if he does get sick, it's for a much shorter time. Okay, so it doesn't mean you'll never get sick ever again. It's not magic, but it does really help in those times. Because like I said, he's around a lot of germs. And, he might even get sick even less often if he perhaps, slept a little bit more, or like was a little bit better about the kind of dietary choices that he was making. So have realistic expectations. Okay. Some people have had a bad MLM experience, and so they've decided to hate essential oils. And if that's the case, I'm very sorry. There's lots of people, and people are people. They're human. They make mistakes. And I'm sorry if you've had a bad experience from a different MLM or from anyone in doTERRA. I would just hope that, if you eat a bad ice cream, you wouldn't swear off ice cream the rest of your life, right? I hope that if you've had a bad experience, I hope that you would still be open to perhaps having a good experience from someone else. So MLMs, multi-level marketing. I was so skeptical of this, so skeptical. The first time I went to a doTERRA class was like 7 years ago. It was like such a long time ago. I've been sharing essential oils now for a year and a half. 7 years ago that I first went. And I thought, I like this. That wild orange smells really nice. It cleans the air, and I can clean with it, and it smells great. Like, that sounds much better than perfume, which is not good for you. Like, that sounds great. But I thought, I do not trust anything that's sold in this format. It should be sold in a mall. I don't trust it at all. And I thought, we'll see where this is in 6 months. So I've been watching the company for far more than 6 months. I was just watching from a distance. And I kept seeing other friends kind of try different MLM, and then it would fold. It would all like come crashing down like 6 months later. I kept seeing other friends try different things. But anyone I saw using or sharing doTERRA, I just saw it kept growing. And the first class that I went to, the lady whose house it was at, she wasn't selling it. She just had it at her house. And I was watching her too. She was just a customer, and she's been using them every single day since then. And she's a smart woman. And I was like, okay, if she's been using this every day for like 7 years, there's probably something to this. So I was so skeptical. I watched it for that long. I watched everyone who was using it, and I watched everyone who was sharing it. And, when people who weren't selling it were recommending it and telling me that I should get a membership because it would be easier and save money, I was like, okay, maybe it's not a scam. So it took me a really long time to trust it. And even when we started to get different essential oil brands in the mall, I went there. But then, do you know what happened? They didn't know what they were talking about. Like, I've noticed that, and I've had other friends tell me that. Like, you go in because you read an article online saying this essential oil is good for this. So you go in and you buy it, and then you ask the people in there. But the thing is with the retail environment is that there's often a lot of turnover, right? You might get people working there for a season, for the holidays or for the summer. So, those people aren't really invested long-term in learning about the oils, educating them, and they're not necessarily going to see you again. So even if you are a repeat shopper, because, different shifts. So the reason why it's done in this format is because it's education-based. Like, you really need someone to help you learn how to use the oils. So I provide resources on training. I have a ton of them out there, and people message me all the time, like, oh, how do I make this? What's a safe dilution for my baby? How do I do this? Have you tried this? And I'm able to help them. So, no one in the mall is going to help you if your baby's sick at 10 o'clock at night, whereas I can. And I can also give you the resources so that you know how to do it as well, so that you can kind of just be in charge of your own healthcare and your own family's healthcare. And there is a big learning curve, right? So if you are used to using natural products before, then this might be easy to you. But if you are not used to this, it's a big mind shift for some people. Because like in kind of Western medication, it's kind of like, it's one thing for one thing. It's like one pill for this, one pill for this, one pill for this. I have this, I need this. I have this, I need this. Whereas with essential oils, they're a little bit more complex, but a little bit more intelligent. So when I first started, I kept hearing about lavender. It was like in every blend, and people said you can use it for 20 million different things. And I'm like, why is everyone trying to get me to buy lavender? Is it the most expensive oil or something? Like, what is with lavender? You won't shut up about it. But it's not the most expensive oil. It's $26. But the reason why it kept coming up again is because it's a very intelligent oil. It's got over 200 active constituents. So that means that there's one ingredient, lavender essential oil, which is steam distilled from the flowers, from the petals. And just that one ingredient, when it's scientifically analyzed, has over 200 active components, which is why it can be used for so many different things. Whereas if you buy Advil or Tylenol or something, there's only going to be one active medicinal ingredient. There's going to be ibuprofen, and then other fillers to form a pill. So there's only one active ingredient. So it's usually good for one type of thing. So lavender, has over 200. Some other oils have much fewer. So lavender can be used for many, many different things, whereas other oils are used for less. But that's why it's kind of a mindset shift, because you think lavender, sleep, lavender, calming. But there's actually many different things that it can be incredibly helpful with. And that's also why we like to be connected to people to help them in their ongoing journey, because I know a lot of people that, aren't connected to an education source for learning about oils. They're like, oh, I'll buy some lavender. I heard that's good for sleep. And then they might burn themselves or have a bug bite, or, spend too long in the sun, or have these other issues and already have the lavender in their home and have no idea that they can use it to help them with lots of other things. Which is also how it can be really cost effective. Like when people told me you would save them money, I didn't believe them. I was like, no. Like oils aren't the cheapest thing in the world. Like they can't save you money. You're just saying that because you're trying to sell it to me. But actually, if you really look at it, it really is an incredibly cost effective solution. One bottle like this will have about 250 drops, and you only really need a drop or two at a time. So that could be up to like 250 different situations that it could help you in. And when you look at the prices, a lot of the oils are really only like 10 to 20 cents per drop. And the thing is, it doesn't expire, it doesn't go off. So if you have a look at what's in your medicine cupboard right now, you might find that it's going to be more cost effective to look at some oils to replace your medicine cupboard, or at least contribute to it. So, you might have a cough syrup for adults, and then a different one for children, and then a different one for babies. I know that, before oils, I bought a cough syrup. It was like this big, a giant bottle, and I had a really bad cough one time. I used like a tiny bit of it, and then the whole thing, and then it just, went off, right? It just expired. So I had this whole thing that was only good for coughs, and I only ever had a cough once, and then it just expired. Right? Whereas oils can be used for so many different things and they don't expire. So that's how they can be so cost effective. So even if you keep it for years, lavender you won't, because you can use it for so many different things. Okay, going back to my list here, kind of getting carried away. Okay, people think it's complicated. It's not. It doesn't have to be. It really doesn't have to be. We try and make it as simple as possible. Oils can do many, many things, but really, when you get started, just take one oil and spend a week learning about it, okay? And there are things that I've got the oils for that I will never do, right? Like I use it for what I use it for. Some people might use it for something really kind of obscure, but just use it for what you use it for, if that makes sense. Or you might see kind of like recipes for like peppermint in brownies, which by the way is amazing. You think, well, why on earth would I buy peppermint oil just to put in brownies? Like how often do I make peppermint brownies or need my food to taste like peppermint? That's not the reason why people buy peppermint. It's just like an added kind of, if you're making brownies and you have peppermint, throw it in. It's, it's not the reason why people get it. People get it because it can help relieve symptoms of occasional head tension. It can help to maintain feelings of open airways with digestive support, lots of different things. Okay, so that leads me to my next thing. Sometimes people say vague things. I don't know if you've noticed that I've been doing that. So that's because we have to play by the rules. So because we're not doctors, there's certain things we are allowed to say and certain things we aren't allowed to say. So we aren't allowed to make any claims like this will heal this, this will cure this, right? We're not allowed to do that, and with absolutely good reason. But it also means that there are some things that we have to say very carefully, but to the point where some people are like, wait, what are you even trying to say? What does it do? So for example, frankincense is incredibly powerful. It's an incredibly powerful oil. It can do many things, but one thing it's very well known for is its very, very positive effect on certain kind of mutated cells in your body that you do not want in your body. And if you have too many of them in your body, you have a very dangerous disease that begins with a C. Some people call it the big C. So I can't say that word. And if you do your own research into essential oils and frankincense and look at the scientific studies that have been done, you will be able to see the effect of frankincense on those kind of cells. Whereas I can say frankincense is good for cellular health, right? So that's why sometimes things sound a bit vague, even though there's like a ton of scientific studies and peer-reviewed medical journals that have been published to back up these scientific findings. It's just how doTERRA plays by the rules. Okay, so that's kind of why. So publicly in videos like this, and publicly we stick to the rules. But one-on-one, if we were having a conversation, either video chat or in person, then we're allowed to kind of say stuff, if that makes any sense. But that's also another reason why you can get this book, because this book is not compliant. It doesn't play by the rules. It's not from doTERRA. You won't find the word doTERRA on this anywhere. But it will tell you more accurately exactly what kind of ailment you may have and what kind of oils you can use for it. Okay, so this is a very, very thorough book. And anyone who starts their oil journey with me will get like a mini booklet kind of version of this to help them reference and help them get started on learning about essential oils. Okay. I think I've covered almost everything. It seems that like people, like lemon, lavender, and peppermint, it seems that everyone's fine with that. They're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I would use that. Lavender's calming, and I've heard of that before. You can put it in the bath, and like, yeah, lemon in your water, that makes sense or lemon in your cleaners, right? Because most cleaners have lemon in them or lemon scented, like they kind of get that. I'm like, yeah, peppermint smells nice. I could use those three. That I'm okay with those. But when you start talking about other oils, then they suddenly get skeptical. And it's not that, we're making up these therapeutic properties of these other oils. It's just that you're probably less familiar with the, with the health benefits associated with geranium or ylang ylang or vetiver. So just because you're unfamiliar with it, it doesn't mean that that it's bad or not true. But equally, just because something is natural, it doesn't mean it's safe. I love it when people say that to me. I'm like, yeah, I know. Like that's why we don't have a poison ivy essential oil, and that's why these oils are, created and tested by doctors and PhD level scientists. Like they know just because it's natural doesn't mean it's safe. But there are qualified people making sure that they are safe. Love it when people say that to me. But yeah, just like anything, you have to use it as directed. So don't put it in your eye, don't put it up your nose, don't put it inside your ears, and keep away from sensitive areas. Other than that, follow the rules for dilution. So when we talk about dilution, it sounds like you're watering it down, but you're not actually. It actually helps it to be absorbed quicker and make it more effective. So you don't want to dilute with water because oil and water don't mix. But when you dilute, you can use a carrier oil. So that's any other kind of oil that you can use, like vegetable oil or olive oil. We usually recommend liquid coconut oil or fractionated coconut oil just because it's colorless, odorless, and absorbed quickly into the skin, and it doesn't stain because it's colorless. Whereas if you use olive oil, you might get a bit of a yellow tinge. So yeah, and then you want to follow the dilution for the appropriate age. Some oils you can use neat without any dilution. Other oils require more dilution, like oregano or cinnamon. They're going to be pretty spicy and warm. So again, as long as you follow the instructions, like they are perfectly safe. But that's exactly what we're here for, right? Like, I mean, some other MLMs, they can sell like makeup or purses, and like you pretty much know how to use those things. But with doTERRA, like you really need someone to just help you. So it's really not about pushing and selling and, buy this. It's really just about helping you learn how to use the oils. Like, what is it you want? Okay, you want help sleeping. Have you tried these oils? Try using them like this. Oh, your baby has a cough. Okay, try this. This is how you use it. This is how it's safe to use it. So it's really just about someone who's been using oils a little bit longer than you, just to help you on your oil journey. so what's different to some other MLMs as well is that it's like 80% customers. Like there's only like 20% of the people that are sharing the oils for income. It's just made up of customers because the product is so good. It's just people who love to use the oils. Where some other companies aren't necessarily like that because their product might not be as good, and so the company only survives by getting people to keep sharing whatever the product is. Whereas this is 100% 80% product driven because people use it, and everyone uses it. You can use it like babies to adults, whereas a lot of other businesses are just going to be often have a much smaller target market, like perhaps just women who wear makeup. Or just people wanting to lose weight. So really that's why it's such a big business, because it's something that everyone uses and is beneficial to everyone. So yeah, that's why I share oils, because it just makes sense. Like it's honestly cheaper, it's honestly better. Like I love cleaning with essential oils because it's so cheap and cost effective and takes like 10 seconds to make. So I have a glass spray bottle, which is environmentally friendly because I just use the one or two and then just refill them. So there's less waste. And to fill it up, I can just use, there's a number of different oils you can use for cleaning. You could use lemon or on guard, rosemary, eucalyptus, tea tree, there's lots. And you can just put some oils in, fill it with water, shake it and spray it. And so eucalyptus is a great one. That can be used as a surface disinfectant. It can also be used to help deter dust mites. Eucalyptus obviously helps to maintain feelings of open airways. You see the compliance, I had to add the word feelings. Obviously, you know what I'm trying to say there. We all know what eucalyptus does. So for example, if I had a spray bottle with eucalyptus, I can clean surfaces with it. I can freshen the air with it. I can put it on like laundry and linen to deter dust mites. I can diffuse it or spray it in the air if someone needs help maintaining open airways. You can also like spray it with any oils really. Spray it in the washroom before you use the washroom to help things not smell because the oil will sit on top of the water and trap things. So anyway, there's so many uses for these oils. And so we are here to help you know how to use them safely and effectively. And hey, if it seems confusing, just pick, like, this is why we start with a kit, right? We start with the top 10 oils. These are the 10 oils that every single home needs to help make over their medicine cabinet and their cleaning cabinet, and I'll teach you how to do it, okay? It's really, really simple. And then beyond that, you get to choose. Like we have, I don't know how many citrus oils, like a lot of them, but citrus oils tend to have the similar properties. So you can just choose which flavors and scents you prefer. You don't need to have every single citrus oil. Again, there's the wood oils and the florals, the spices, the herbs. They often have similar properties, and so you can just choose which resonates with you, unless you're looking for a specific need. So some are better for rest, some are better for skincare. So for example, a lot of the floral oils have a chemical constituent called linalool or linalool. It's like got a double O in it, so it depends how you pronounce it. But linalool, and the highest amount of linalool is in magnolia, and that's very, very calming and restful. So if you're looking for something calming, you might prefer magnolia over a different floral oil. So you get to choose what kind of constituents you're looking for, what kind of therapeutic benefits you're looking for. So another reason some people might be skeptical is because you've seen some kind of weird hippie stuff. And what I mean by that is people saying things that you just don't get. And I see this too, okay? I've seen people say, I saw just yesterday someone say, massage this oil into your heart space and it will help open your chakra and your heart and help you with self-love and this and that. I'm like, I don't quite get that. I don't feel any different when I put that oil there. I'm sorry, I just don't get it. I do, however, know the scientific benefits of that essential oil. And I do definitely believe that there are emotional benefits to essential. And I've seen that and I felt that. But I didn't quite resonate or get what this lady was saying about this one oil. So, but again, that's no reason to write the whole thing off. Like, there's so many scientific studies about essential oils. And guess what, guys? They're mostly about doTERRA. And that's because, so actually the head of science at doTERRA, she was saying when she was in doing her PhD, she was part of what she was studying was she was trying to study essential oils, and she's she's curious, she's a scientist, so she had these different body tissues and was trying to test these different oils to see the different effects. But then she had to stop her research because the oils themselves were so inconsistent. Right? She was using oils that just every batch she got was different. And she's like, I can't even test with it because it's not consistent enough. You can't be scientific when there's too many variables. The oils themselves are just all over the place. Then she was introduced to doTERRA, and she's like, oh, finally, this quality is so good and so consistent. I can actually even use this to test. So now she is actually the head of science at doTERRA. So doTERRA essential oils are in lots of clinical studies. So doTERRA work with over 150 hospitals and universities to do ongoing research. So in these studies, you probably won't see the word doTERRA because the universities have to remain independent and not promoting a specific brand. But most of the time they are using doTERRA because there's no other brand that's consistent enough to even use, which is telling in itself. So one study I heard of recently is they had a batch of people and they were doing the AromaTouch hand technique. So that's a patented technique from doTERRA, but it's basically a massage technique with essential oils for the hand. And so in this study, they had two groups of people, and for 2 weeks, every day, these people got to come in and have a hand massage. I know, I wish I was in that study. Sounds amazing. And so one group was just had the hand massage, and the other group had the hand massage with the essential oils. So they didn't know which group they were in because even the group that wasn't using the essential oils, they had essential oils diffusing in the room, and the people doing the massage would often pick up bottles, put down bottles, open them, and things like that. So they didn't know that they weren't having essential oils actually used on them. They didn't know. So they measured their relaxation through a number of different methods, heart rate, saliva, I believe, was one of the methods. So they were measuring their kind of their mental state, their emotional state, their restfulness at the beginning of the 2 weeks and throughout and by the end of the 2 weeks. So for both groups, by the end of the 2 weeks, as you can imagine, they both did feel more relaxed, and they had more, showed more signs of calmness. Just from the massages, from taking that time every day, from the human touch, which actually is a big factor. So they both showed improvement. However, the group that used the essential oils in the massage showed even greater improvement. Okay, so it is scientific that using essential oils, using certain essential oils, will have calming effects on the body. So it is just science. So, maybe there's some oils that you're sold on, maybe there's some that you're really skeptical of, but hopefully I've encouraged you to at least do your own research. So you can check out, if you just Google PubMed, you'll get to published medical journals. Then you can look up, the effects of peppermint or lavender or frankincense, and you're going to see hundreds of studies about those things. You can also check out Aromatic Science, so that's aromaticscience.com, or the Aromatic Plant Research Center, APRC. That's actually the independent third party that does doTERRA's testing. So they do a lot of plant research. So you can do a lot of research there. There's aromatherapy has been used for a very long time. So there are scientific benefits of aromatherapy. And one of the most interesting things about it is that it's the quickest way to affect your mood. Because, when you inhale something, it kind of like bypasses the thinking part of the brain. It goes straight to the limbic system. So it really goes to the brain in a very, very short, direct path. So that's how it has an effect to the brain and to the mood, which is why the smell, the sense of smell has huge links to memory, because for the same reason, it just kind of, goes straight up there to the brain. So there you go. There's some science. I've hopefully answered some of your questions about myth busting, about why you've seen all these other different articles and why you get different misleading information online, because people are using crappy oils. That's really the bottom line. Or perhaps you've seen some scary articles, because we all know that clickbait is more interesting when there's a scary situation. So you might have seen an article about something drastic happening with essential oils, but hey, guess what? if someone like pours a whole bottle of oil in their eye, is that doTERRA's fault or is it their fault, right? If someone drinks 15 milliliters of essential oil, is that doTERRA's fault or is it their fault? Okay, it's just people, any kind of negative article like that, I guarantee they won't have been using them correctly, and it won't be doTERRA. It's going to be a really crappy brand of essential oil every time when you see those fear-mongering articles. And yeah, another thing is I've seen an article about how peppermint and eucalyptus aren't safe to use with young children. Okay, and then so people are like, oh no, I can't use this with my kids. But again, doTERRA know everything about plants. Okay, so there's a whole article on the doTERRA website explaining how theirs is safe. Okay, so I'm not a gardener at all. I really can't. I keep my kids alive, but I really cannot keep plants alive. But there's lots of different species of peppermint, lots of different ways to distill it, and there's a whole article about how their kind of strain, if you will, of peppermint and eucalyptus, it uses parts that are safe and not parts that aren't safe. So that's why it's so important to go with a company that knows what they're doing, and that's why it's just a bad idea. It's not going to be effective and even potentially harmful to be using these other cheaper brands. And honestly, you just need a couple of drops of doTERRA, and you don't need a PhD in botanicals to smell the difference in quality between doTERRA and other brands. Like, they really just are the best. So, I mean, hopefully I've encouraged you to just be open to maybe trying them or smelling them. But hey, honestly, they don't have to be fireworks. I use essential oils because I don't want to use unsafe chemicals on my family and for cleaning, and because they are cheaper and they're cost effective, and it just makes sense. Like, if I can get away with using something natural, then I would prefer to do that than use medication. I'm not against medication whatsoever. I'm so thankful for the doctors here, but I'm also thankful that I rarely need to see them. Like, I'm thankful that when something comes up, I know what oils I can use safely on my kids, and I've seen it, how other kids that they're around have had been more sick, and we've just managed to get away with just a few coughs and runny noses, and it's not turned into pneumonia or bronchitis or anything else. And so I'm very thankful for medication, totally not against it. I would, of course, use medication on my kids, but I'm really thankful that I so rarely need to. So yeah, that's why I use essential oils. No fireworks. It just makes sense. It makes so much sense. If my kids have a cough and I go to Shoppers Drug Mart, there's nothing you can buy for a kid with a cough under 5. So there's nothing. As a mom, my kid has a cough, I can't do anything. That sucks. I just drink some water. That's all I can do. Have a nice steamy hot bath. I can't do anything to help. Whereas with essential oils, they can use the same thing that I use, just less of it and more diluted. That just makes sense. It just makes sense. And you can do like a steam tin. You can add for an adult, you can add some eucalyptus to that, and depending on the age of the kid, you can as well. And that's gonna be wonderful. You can just add these natural things into what you're already doing. Before essential oils, I would clean my bathtub. I still clean my bathtub, don't worry. But I would clean it with, whatever brand of cleaner. And to me, it smelled gross. I tried not to breathe it in. So I would hold my breath and just clean the tub as quickly as I could. And then, then run out of there to breathe again. Honestly, I would do that. Whereas now I was cleaning the bathtub recently with tea tree and peppermint and eucalyptus. And, my son was knocking on the door, and I was about to say, oh no, don't come in. And I was like, oh wait, no, do come in. Not only is this safe to breathe, all of these oils actually help support your breathing. So I'm like, yeah, come in, have a deep breath. And that just makes sense to me. I don't want to be using toxic things to clean my bathtub when, my kids and myself are going to be in that bathtub. Okay. Like, if you clean with it, you fill it with water and have a bath, though, that chemical residue is still there. And that's actually where we absorb most of our toxins, is through our skin, and actually particularly in the shower or the bathtub, because because of the heat and your pores are open. And so that's one place you really want to look at what you're using, like look at what's in your shampoos and your soaps. If your deodorant doesn't say paraben free, aluminum free, aluminium free, sorry, been in Canada a while, or fragrance free, like anything that says fragrance isn't good for you. And guess what says fragrance? Everything. Perfume, cleaners. That's the kind of stuff that is safe in tiny, minute amounts. But hey, guess what? You use shampoo and soap and stuff every day, and it builds up to unsafe amounts that your body is unable to get rid of. So That's why I use essential oils. They are just safer and they're cheaper, and it makes sense. Okay, so let me know if I answered some of your questions and I busted some of your myths that you were thinking about essential oils. And let me know if you have any more questions, and I'll see what I can do to help you out. I might have the answer, and if I don't, I will be able to find out someone who does know the answer and get you the answers that you need. Okay, have a great night. Bye.